So one is, what do you guys understand by retail plan? What is the understanding? What is the expectation, that what is a retail plan like? If somebody could tell me about that. Like a range plan, any understanding?
Oh, ma'am.
Okay, Prasad, please tell me, what do you understand by this?
Yes, ma'am. This having this a texture in this in each and every the way in apparel. This having the design, the texture, um, even the having the form.
True.
As
So it is
especially
basic.
this the resin one. This having this good texture and the good form, having this good aesthetics for this what we can say this having the beauty in the resin is the brown one, the especially the
No, I
brown
will
ones.
talk about range plan. Prasad, a little correction. It is not only about this range. I'm talking about the wide variety of range plan, which is done for all retail, whether it's a small merchandise group or fashion brand or a bigger retail chain. So a range plan is more like an overview of the collection with all the design and the financial parameters set out. That how much would it be? The plan specifies your collection in how many styles will you have, what are the fabrics, what would be the cost, what are the colors. So all this is like it's a map before we dive into large scale production. Thank you, Prasad. I will further take you from here to what a range plan actually is like and why is it needed. So, like all plans, uh, you know, um, there are some factors which are controllable and which are not controllable. So, when it comes to retail, the controllable factors would be like understanding what is the product like, what are the what does the product give for the consumers, what are the price points you can offer it at. And the uncontrollable factors could be like the pandemic right now we've all faced, and the weather conditions which can go haywire, the policies which keep changing. Like right before I got into this meeting, I got a message saying that the excise duty on garments now is going to 12% instead of 5%. Now this is unaccounted for in a plan, but all of a sudden something comes up, then you need to revise your plans accordingly. So, when somebody is looking at a collection, there are three parameters mainly which will drive how to shape a plan. One is analysis, which is looking at what has happened in the past. Also, what are the learnings, what worked, what did not work, and what is the competition doing. Like if you go by, Nokia was doing so well with their phones. One smartphone, one Apple comes up with a smartphone, it changes the history of how the phones are going to be selling further. Then there's a vision of how do you want to position yourself, where do you want to be, what do you want to be seen as a brand. So like in the earlier session, Harpreet said that how everybody is turning more sustainable. Now this is the vision which is coming, and how there are different new products which are coming which will be sustainable. So how do you put it into your strategy? And the forecast, like I said, the people are becoming more eco-friendly, and how environment is becoming a big thing. So forecasting what sales to be achieved, how will they be achieved, what revenues are expected of them, all this becomes a part of the range plan. Then why is it needed in the first place? So there's a financial direction, of course, that the range plan aligns the merchandising, buying, design, and the manufacturing processes to set the design and financial directions of the collection. Ultimately, effective range plan ensures that the assortment you've built has a higher chance of sell through and profitability, because by the end of the day, we are all wanting to make money out of whatever we are providing. And also, it gives you an overview and control of how, at different points of time, it gives you weekly deliverables. that if any department is lagging behind, of how it is going to affect, so it can help you tighten the loose strings in the middle of, whenever somebody wants to come and check. So it gives you an overview. Now, this is a typical flow. It can change, but this is most of the retailers follow this. So I'm going to take you from this, and this is going to be repetitive. So it is going to keep coming back to you through the presentation. So the promoter comes with a plan that, this is the top line. Top line means this is the number of pieces we want to sell in this season. And the profitability, which is the bottom line. This is given to the planning and the merchandising team, and they see that how much needs to be invested in which categories, and also when are the sales to be expected. Then the plan comes to the buying, or the buying mostly. In some places where the merchandising is taking care of it, the design gets it. The assortment plan is like breaking down into further categories of how much, what fabric, what sizes, what ratios, etc. Then this goes to the design, who will be seeing the forecast, what is happening in the world, and how do you make it something which is working for your line. And then after this is agreed upon, it goes to the sourcing, who will take it off from there to achieve the plan. Of course, marketing is involved, like, who to sell the product to, by whom, and how do we sell it. Then the visual merchandise takes care of how the product will be displayed both inside and outside of the store. Operations, of course, needs to get the sales, so the sales need to get going. It also impacts every other department, like the finances. The finance department would need to know what was the purchase like, what was the profitability like, how much are the payouts, what is the turnaround time. Then the logistics, where are the goods being manufactured, how do they need to be taken to the different locations where the point of consumptions are. And the warehousing, what is the product, how does it need to be warehoused. Suppose the product is like huge garments, like coats and jackets. Now they cannot be put into small racks. If you know that this is the kind of number and this is the kind of product that we are going to get, you arrange the warehousing accordingly. Then store operations, which take care of the stock replenishment, management of the inwards and the outwards of the stocks, and the returns of the stocks. So all of them will plan according to what the plan is. So this is the summary. If you get this slide, I think rest of the presentation is done. We don't need to, but this is the crux of the entire thing that I'm going to present to you today. So you can ask your questions based on this. Now, like I said, the top management gives you the budget. Suppose they've given the budget of the top line of 1 crore. Now, average selling price of a garment is 1,000 rupees. So automatically we need to make 10,000 units. Now, the blind plan cannot have 10,000 units because you can't ever, as much as we'd like it, you can't ever sell the entire, collection. There will be leftovers. So that is accounted for. And so your buying will go probably 1.5 times. Now, this can also vary depending on what the product is. So you have 15,000 coming, 15,000 units coming. Now, they do not go on the floor at one go because there are different floors and different looks that, and the customer can't come and have a look at the entire presentation in one go. And then they will be like, what is new? So you need to keep coming with new garments. So there are intervals planned. Most of the times, a season is broken into 3 phases, the ratio being 40, 40, and 20. Now, this can, again, vary. Like a Zara has very, very quick replenishments coming on the floor. Then there's something like a merchandise calendar, which is when, how much, and what is going to be on the floor. The quantity, the colors, the SKUs, store-wise allocations, ratios, size packs, MDQs, which is the minimum display quantity for the number of stores that you have, size sets, Like the bottom line has to be achieved, so the margins have to be there. What is the gross margin? So suppose a 40 lakh bottom line has to be achieved on the sale of a crore, then you need to build up your margins accordingly. What will be the total number of garments, proportion of different garment types, specific garments, the fabrics to be used, sale prices, cost, quantities, sizes, manufacturers, markdowns, etc. So now we come to the merchandise plan. So the merchandise planning will take care of, what is the maximum return on investment. What has the brand name, by satisfying the customer and avoiding the creation of excess inventory. You don't want to have too much and not be able to sell. What does it entail? It entails financial information based on the history of targets that you've given. The range, which refers to the variety of merchandise that you will sell. What is the product range like? Price, targets. Okay, I want to also know, because all of you have cameras turned off. I also want to know that if any of you are finding anything so far which is difficult to understand, if there is anything which probably is something you would want me to expand on, not understandable, like there would be terms and which are going amiss, then let me know. Even if you send me a message on this, I think that would be good. Is there anybody? Because there is no feedback from the audience. Okay, so on that note, I will continue that the profitability, the margins, the sale throughs, the stock rotation, and okay, thank you so much. And the assortment mix, balance of range, example, the proportions of the core and the fashion. So every brand has a identity of what is the core product, what is the fashion product, how much of what is. So all this is done by the merchandising. The space allocations, as in the minimum display, like every store is not the same size. Every store doesn't even have the same retail price. So if there is something which is in a small city, it might be a cheaper location, so bigger stores can be bought. But in a key area, which is an expensive property, say in a big town like in a Bombay or a Delhi or a metro city, so the retail space is expensive, the MDQs become very tight, so you want to accordingly give them the collections which will get you higher returns. So and the post-season analysis of what worked for us last season, what did not work for us, what are the new strategies and sales, and what is the competition doing, what were our own sales like. Then forecasting sales, predicting the consumer behavior. Like after the pandemic, a lot of people did not have jobs for a while. Like, there was a customer behavior which was going up and down, because of not having enough money. So analysis is done on that what are the buying trends, what are people buying. So a lot of comfort clothing was being bought, and if you look, there was a spike in the comfort clothing section. And then plan and implement the assortment. Now this is what mostly a retail merchandiser's plan looks like. This is a very short version of it that I'm sharing over here because it can be very extensive. But they would have notes like dresses are doing very well as a category. So, dresses need to increase. 3 stores in Kolkata will be functional by the Pujo. 1 store in Goa is also lined up. So these kind of details will come from the merchandising team to the buying team. Now, if you see, they've given the categories. What are the categories? They could be brands, depending upon what the size is. Number of options. Okay, so I don't know. How do I enlarge this? Is it getting any larger? It says, but it doesn't look like it's getting larger. Wait, I will have to. Harpreet ji, can you help me with enlarging this? Is there a possibility?
Just a minute.
Otherwise, I think the further slides would have a better clarity of this. Praveen, if we can't enlarge this, no, I'm not sure if everybody's having the problem. I've also given the reference. There's a woman called Douglas Tuts on YouTube. She explains this, because this is a very small portion that I'm explaining right now. She explains it extensively. So if you really need to see this, she will be taking through, but I will read out everything for you. If we can't enlarge it, I will read out every bit for you. So the first thing is category. The next is the number of options. How many pieces, how many styles are going. What are the sales units? Because this is the past season analysis. So what were the units we sold in those collections? What was the intake? How many had we inverted? What was the average line buy, which is the ALB? How many garments were bought per style on an average? Then what was the sales value of the product? The buy value of the product? The average selling price, because even if you've bought it at a certain price, maybe there were markdowns, and what was it selling at averagely? What were the sale throughs? What was taken in? How much of it has sold? What is the percentage sales? So that is the sell through. What was the buying mix like? If I had bought more of this collection, less of the other one, and then how did it sell? Maybe whatever was bought more did not sell as much as the one which has sold. So for the next season, there would be a learning that this collection did better. This was more accepted. These price points did not work. And accordingly, there's a budget which is set for the next season. Of course, there's a top line, but how do you break it down? What is the proportion that you will give to each? New ASPs are put into line. There's some things which did not sell at this product line. This price point did not sell. So new average selling prices will be put into place. Then new average line buys, if need to be changed, they will be put into place. And then you'll derive your number of options and your revised budget. If there is any spill from the last season, anything that is left over from the last season which needs to be continued, that would be added, and the total buy value of what needs to go into production will be given. So after the merchandiser has given this, so the key points, if you can read this, the key points that need to be taken care of is how many options need to be offered to achieve the target. What are the price points at which these options will be offered? And how many from the previous season, if any, will continue in this season? So sometimes if something is sold very well, instead of carrying it forward, we even repeat the garments because it sold so well, it had more potential, it can be repeated. And if something did not sell so well, and we want to refurbish it or put it back on the floor, then that space needs to be taken out from the current range, that something similar cannot be made again. Now when it comes to the buying, the buyer's role is to divide everything, whatever had been given in the first place, into further classification, into hierarchies, the class, the subclass, and the category. I don't know if everybody understands class, subclass, and the category. It is more like if the garment is, say, a sweater. Okay, so that is the category, sweater. Now the subcategory could be fitted sweaters, and the class could be like further divided into what is the detail of the fabric. So we could have like price points or anything at which it goes as essentials or it goes as must-haves. So all that collection needs to be broken down by the buyer. Then the style needs to be identified. The pack size needs to be decided. The pack size is more like if there's a garment going, and if there is a say S, M, L, XL are the sizes which are going, then what is the ratio of the sizes? Like if you're selling a garment in an area where the demographics, the population is mostly petite, then you need to have more of the small and the medium. So those ratios will be larger, wherein the garments the people are more towards the bigger builds. Then maybe the ratio of the breakup would be more towards the line which is higher. The price points are based on the competition analysis, that what is the competition, who are you competing with, what are they offering the same product for, because you need to price yourself accordingly. You cannot be very, sometimes you can go back and see that, I don't see myself relating to this segment and I need to place my brand slightly higher. Then you take your price point slightly higher and you give a product which is in accordance to that. What will be the intake margins? Because margins will drive your bottom line. Then what is the module or the capsule size? Like I said, 40, 40, 20 earlier. So if the collection has 100 pieces, and not all 100 can go on the floor together, but what is the, amongst the 40 which are coming, do they sit together? Do they make a line together? How do they look on the floor? So in accordance to that, there will be, suppose there's a collection which is usually 15 pieces, 9 pieces, on an average 12 pieces per module. Then the SKUs. SKUs are the stock keeping unit. Every garment on the floor is a single, has a single degree to it, a number allocated, which is identifying of that particular garment. The width and the number of the options. Width is usually, suppose there's a line of 400 garments. So the width would be the styles. Sorry? Did I miss something? Okay. So width would be the number of options, number of styles, and the depth would be the quantity in every style. Okay. So the product mix is usually the staples, essentials, and basics. These are more like the entry price point products based on the historical data. What have you sold in the past? And the vendors are usually known. Core, mainline, or must-haves are the core offering of the brand. What is the brand about? What are the bread earners? So the changes, this changes from every season according to the forecast, but this is aligned to the market requirements. It is mid-price range, which is the core range, which will go to all stores. And then there are fashion edgy trendsetters, which are extremely fashionable. And these are aspirational, close to the season ranges, usually considering they are the exit price points. Okay. I think it's skipped. Okay. So the merchandise calendar and the critical path are the next. This is what a merchandise calendar looks like. So it is a little different from what our usual calendars are like. In a retail store, the collection is divided into mostly seasons. So if there are 2 seasons or 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, you could have it as 2. Mostly in India, we have 2, which is spring, summer, and fall, winter. So in that case, it is divided as per the launches, weeks, end of season sales, your events and festivals. So this is an example. So in February, the week 51 and 52 is the end of the season. The season is ending, the sales are on. So the new collection will start coming from the launch week. That is week 1. But if you've been to the floors, you must have seen that it is not always like, everything is not on sale. There's some new collections which start coming before that, so that you have, a visibility of the new line while the people are walking into the store for the sale. And then week one, everything else becomes new. So the new shoots are up, the displays change. So it's like the coming up of the fresh collection. In this, the identification of your holidays, what are the events, what is the window going to be like, what is the garment, the clothing on the floor going to be like during that launch. Though mostly, 50% of the line is what we launch things with. Now, these are the dates. Suppose these are the dates for next year, 2022. So the Pujo, which is very big in towards the east, and Diwali for the rest of the country, and Christmas. So if there are these dates, and Ramzan is happening, there's another Ramzan during the winter. So what are the dates which are happening? What is the kind of clothing that needs to be there? What are the locations that you are at? Now this is collection phasing. After we've got the first two mixes, the collection phasing is like, when is what product going to come on the floor? This is an example. Again, if I need to zoom this, I don't have an option. I will share this, as a picture later. So this is like, what is the collection? The collection which had been given by the merchandise team earlier. It is further broken down into tops, t-shirts, shirts, dresses, jumpsuits, skirts, pants, knits, etc. Now, if you see broadly, there is a July, August, September, October intake. So which product is going to come on the floor at what point of time? So the designers are given these numbers. How many of tops are needed? How many colorways they would have? How many sweaters would be needed in this time? So the designers need to make their range according to this, that this is going to be on the floor in this collection. How many collections does it need to be broken down into? Because if the numbers are so big, like they're 149 if you see in the first, 149 will have to have different colorways, themes, etc. Then the buyer gives something like this also to the designers, which is like breaking down. Now, in the earlier range, we've put down everything. Now it is only the dresses that I'm mentioning over here. So from the sales perspective, it is the knee-length dresses and the mini dresses which are working more than the midi and the maxi. So a percentage has been given, for the same 173 garments. Then those 173 have been divided into the main line, like the shift dress, the shirt dress, a drop hem dress, a strappy dress. These are given for different breaks. So the buyer also gives notes like biggest demand to have dresses with sleeves. So, where the sleeves are being asked for. Maxi length dresses are always a big ask basis the competition availability. Pujo in the East, if you remember, we mentioned some stores are opening. So that is the coming from the planning to the buyer. Now the buyer tells this to the designer that Pujo in the East usually factors around 25% from dress category, must have some colors that are Pujo relevant, like the shade of birch, reds, beiges, etc. Also some embellishments and value addition during this time. So it needs to look more Indian. That has been emphasized by the buyer. Now, it could be a Western wear brand. How does the designer, cue this in? Will be taken care of by the design team. Then the LBD and tailoring dresses is one big category, which could be taken care of in autumn winter 22. Now, these are like, this is just an example of what I had done earlier. This is in terms of denims. Also, what is happening over here is like a MRP grid is given along. What is working? How much should be made in this price point? So the designers will design accordingly. Now, when it comes to the design, with all these Excel sheets and data having come to design, before this comes, the designer has already done a few things. Like they've done the trend forecast, the mood boards, what are the colors which are going to the season, what are the fabrics, what are the textures, and also they've done their own competition mapping. Who was selling what brands are showing what on the, what are the international brands doing, the brands that you look up to. And then after this, when the range plan has come from the buyer, then the illustration, graphics, step packs, and prototype samples go from there. Now, what I'm showing to you is the work of another student. But this is like more to give the idea of how a collection is taken. So this is now a WGSN story, Effortless Prairie. How the inspiration is taken, like the ruffles, it's girly, it's frilly, it's floral. So from that inspiration, a collection is driven. Basically, the color palette, the mood and the feel. If you look at the garments, they're voluminous in nature, but not necessarily every customer would want voluminous garments. So keeping inside who is your customer, what are they wanting, what are the fits and etc. which sell with you. So the designer would make a line to take care of all different segments, like your product line. If it is a 25 to 45-year range of the customer, then a 25-year-old's needs will be very different from a 45-year-old's needs. So balancing all of them, a line is made and presented. So these are like the collections, continuation of the same. Now the accessories have also come into the place, that what will be paired with what. Now, like we spoke, that there are price points. So there are some entry price points, like, this is the range, which is, and then there can be decision of how much of our range would sit into certain price points. Like, is it more entry level, is it more mid level, or exit level? Where does the major range lie? What are the price points for all these? Now, the grading of the stores happen. So the collection is graded into A, B, and C. If you look at this, there are some garments which are grade A, which will go to the flagship or the big city stores that we spoke about. The grade B will go to 75%, of this range will be delivered to the mid stores. And then there are stores which are very small in number, or, like they're in this tier 3 cities, or they have lesser potential, like in terms of size, to be showcasing the range. So the grade C, this is, stores which have 50% of the range delivered. And these are the garments from the core line, which are mostly delivered. And this is like an outfit building. Outfit building is something which is like, you have, say, 30 pieces. Now, how do you have 120 ways of wearing it? So this is how you pair them together to create new looks. Now, considering everybody is following people on Instagram, who are doing a lot of, they're doing a lot of innovation with how they style their garments. If you see, the garments are not so many. It is how many ways that you can wear it with. This increases the interest of the customer to why they should be buying this. And for this, there is a fashion, there is a cutting glass. I'm going to put that here in this chat box. Somebody has done a Rick Owens collection into so many different ways of how those 30, 40 pieces can be worn. So that is something very interesting which can be looked at. After this is the basic range plan which goes into making. This is the whole thing, like whatever we are talking about today, this is the crux of it. So the range plan has the style numbers, the images of the garments which are going to go on the floor. What is the hit? Like we did the phasing. So hit 1, hit 2, hit 3, hit 4 could be your July, August, September, October. So when is it coming? When will it hit the floor? What is the brand? Because you could have multiple brands. Then the description of what the garment is like. What are the categories? And of course, there are subcategories and everything, which I've not put over here. What is the style number? the pattern, whether it is printed, whether it's solid, what are the colors, the fabric quality, the country of origin. This is usually put in by the sourcing, but country of origin, who is the supplier, what are the MRPs, after the MRPs, what is the average line buy, like we spoke about earlier, what is the number of intake units, how many units have been intaken, which will be leading to the intake retail, how many pieces were bought at what price, at what MRP, so that becomes your intake retail. Then your ASPs, because not every garment is going to sell full price. What is the average selling price of the garment? How much would sell, what will be the after the reduction. This is an expected number which will be put. Then your cost, a target cost is given in the beginning of the season which needs to be achieved. What is the retail gross margin, intake margin, the markdowns, if any, are planned in advance. And then there's terminal stock, which is the stock which will be left over and kept with you. It has to be accounted up, for in the beginning, to know what the retail, the return of investment is like. After this is your sales units expected and the sale retail which is expected of this garment. So if you see every garment, could have 3 colors, 1 color, where is it coming from? Some would have a higher GM expected, some would have a lower GM. So like that, all of this is put into the plan. After this, the plan is handed over to the sourcing. So the sourcing is responsible as to, where are they going to source. So the sourcing might come back and say that, no, this is not working, this is too expensive a product. You're expecting a 439 price point, which is not happening because this is not feasible with the current prices going up for, say, it's a cotton shirt and cotton has gone more expensive. So what can be done? Can the material be changed? Can the styling be changed a little? Can, the buttons or the trims be changed to get that price point? Or can the price point be tweaked and, we can go back into planning that this is changing. So that all needs to happen along with the sourcing team. And after that, there is a signing off which happens. The plan is agreed upon and it goes into the production. And the plan is used every day to map a department's work, from tech packs, from the designers to vendor visits, which are supposed to happen with sourcing of the design team, the order placements by the sourcing, the deliveries, where are they, have they come in time, not come in time, and the sales. Once the garment reaches the floor, the sales which were expected, if there is anything which is not working, then it needs to be tweaked. If there was a certain amount of sale which was supposed to happen this week, but due to some unforeseen, changes, now people have not walked in, there's not been enough customer, and the sale has not been achieved, then it needs to be seen what can be done to keep the track, going by maybe discounting some product, running an offer to get more people to come and buy more product. And like life, there are surprises and deviations which will happen. So nothing goes sacrosanct, and they will be taken into consideration, like I said before, that, as and when they come. And a good plan leaves a lot of scope for quick adaptations. That would be all from me. Thank you. Now, are there any questions from you? Hi.
Now we can take the questions and sessions.
Yeah, but I just asked if there are any questions. None? I'm not even sure if people are actually attending or maybe they've just signed in and they've gone. Okay, then that would be all then, I think.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Himlata.
Yeah. Myself, Hemlata. I just wanted to know, what is the time period before that, they place an order for
Yeah.
such an assortment? Yeah.
See,
So,
like we shared the critical path, no? Like I showed you what the calendar is like. So, depending upon different products, because see, there will be products which will an average time period of about 6 months is taken into consideration. But considering right now, you see, the fashion is turning so fast that with the AI coming in, everything, so much time is not left. So, reduction also happens to say about 45 days. There are some things which will be turned around in 45 days, and some things which will go on like essentials are designed 6 months in advance. Pata hai, lena hi hai. They will take it 6 months in advance. But if there is something which is suppose हमने बहुत अच्छी collection बनाई, it went on the floor and it sold off. Now all of a sudden there is something called OTB, open to buy हो गया है. Abhi that time period, because you cannot lose the season, you cannot let the customer go back. That time period is really shrunk. कि ये 3 हफ्ते में 2 हफ्ते में we will need this much and it needs to be on the floor. So that can vary. Product के हिसाब से that will keep varying. But mostly about 4 months is on an average that every product takes 120 days.
yeah. One more question to add on to this.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if it is at two different places, means, the things when is it possible that, at one place, you are getting more orders for the same thing and the other side it is not being sold out?
See, that is why the plan happens, because yes, it can happen कि, planning has gone wrong, that we were anticipating say a sale of black tops. Okay, now all of a sudden there's a research which has come and which has said that wearing black is detrimental to, see, there's a pandemic which is happening and black gets the virus. Okay, all of a sudden the plan for black which you had has gone for a toss. Now it needs to be understood, how do you liquidate it? So there are liquidation plans which come into place, that if there is something which has happened, now how will you turn it around? So there are times it happens, but otherwise the whole idea of planning is that you see what is going where and you order only what is needed. I hope I've answered your question, Hemlata.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? None? What are the courses that the faculty is mostly around from? Is it a fashion or a design? You know? So then, do we wrap it up for the day? Harpreet?
Yes, I think so. So no questions are coming up.
Oh, there are questions are coming up? Okay, I can wait. Also, I think somebody wanted, the close up of the presentation, the numbers. So I could send those images if needed.
So if there are no question, can we, shall we wind up the today's proceeding? Participants, please advise us.
I'm not even sure if the participants are there.
No response.
Ma'am, we are here, ma'am.
Oh, you are?
Thank
Okay, thank you, Archana, for acknowledging. Okay, we are getting a lot of yeses, so I think we can wrap up for the day.
Okay, thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
For a
Thank
very,
you for
for a very, for a very insightful session on range plan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The
Thank you.
presentation was very good. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, dear participants, we will rejoin on tomorrow's session as per schedule at 9:30 a.m. sharp. Tomorrow's session, I will just revise you that first session will be on by Mr. Jasleen Chopra, that he will speak on curating fashion. Then the second session will be by Dr. Monica Sikka, Associate Professor NIIT Jalandhar. She will give a very insightful talk on recent related topic developments. And the third session will be on quality assurance in the apparel production. That session will be taken by very experienced consultant from Methods Apparel Consultancy by Ms. Sunana Khanna. So with this, I am now taking a privilege to wind up the today's proceedings with a commitment that we will rejoin together sharp at 9:30 a.m. on the same platform by using the same link. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.